Ellen Nelson is the Chief Technology Officer of Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. Welcome, Ellen. Delighted you're here.
Pleasure to be here.
So I see you have just announced a sustainability strategy for ADNOC. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I suspect you worked hard on it. Tell us about it. What are you doing?
Well, we're very excited to announce our 2030 sustainability strategy here at ADSW this week. We started developing the strategy about 9 months ago, and we started with some guiding principles and really building on our foundation as being one of the most responsible oil and gas producers worldwide. And we saw the opportunity to take and establish a leadership position in sustainability, while at the same time, and importantly, maximizing the value for the UAE. And through this process, we identified several strategic pillars, from environment and climate change, to the local environment and biodiversity, to workforce diversity and talent development, HSE, an entire comprehensive set, if you will, of sustainability metrics. And then we applied some very aggressive targets to those metrics. And we announced those earlier this week. So you will see that we've announced that we will reduce our CO2 intensity by 25% out to 2030, reduce our freshwater intake to 0.5% over that same time frame, while at the same time increasing our CO2 capture for EOR. A very, very comprehensive set of targets, but a very aggressive set of targets as well. So we're absolutely delighted to share that here this week and to tell our sustainability story.
Let's drill down on a few pieces of that. Tell us about your greenhouse gas reduction goal or your CO2 reduction goal. What's it going to take to get there?
Right. So we are one of the leaders when it comes to CO2 capture and sequestration. We've been doing this for several years. And today we have the capacity to capture and sequester over 800,000 tons of CO2. And again, earlier this week, we announced our plans to expand that capacity to 5 million tons, which will solidify our position as a world leader in CO2 capture. The region and specifically our geological formations here in Abu Dhabi are very unique. They lend themselves very well to CO2 sequestration, fixation, and enhanced oil recovery from CO2. And that really enables us to be a world leader when it comes to CO2. And we are leading the charge, so to speak, when it comes to CCUS.
And this will come off of the upstream production in oil and gas both, or tell us where the CO2 streams will come from.
So it'll come off a balanced set of assets. So for example, today we pull off a significant amount of our CO2 from Emirates Steel, from our partners. Oh. And so we will have multiple sources of CO2 from our existing assets as well as continuing from Emirates Steel.
Mm-hmm. And what other technology areas are you looking at in addition to carbon capture?
So first of all, for us, the easiest way, if I can say it that way, to maximize energy efficiency is not to consume energy to begin with. So we focus very much on energy efficiency and having the most efficient operations from upstream through midstream into downstream. And we have, at ADNOC, we have what we call our Panorama Digital Command Center. And what this center is it's an end-to-end accountability of all of our hydrocarbon streams, from our wells in through our refined products. And that gives us a very unique view in terms of where our molecules are going, but more importantly, where we're spending efficiency, or where we're spending or energy, or where we're consuming natural gas. So we can track all of this real time. And that identifies some opportunities for new technologies. Technologies that may be different compression cycles, or maybe there are upgrades in catalysts that give us greater efficiency. But that is a primary focus for us, is to ensure that we're using every electron, every photon as efficiently as we possibly can.
And I noticed there's a water goal that you spoke about, obviously very important in this region. Talk about that. And as your production grows, are you going to be able to keep your freshwater usage constant, do you think?
So we've set the target with respect to our overall water consumption, so 0.5% of our overall water intake, which is a very aggressive target for us. And within the water space, we are developing different technologies in terms of how we can purify water, how we can recycle water in the existing systems that we have to make the most value, or capture the most value out of every molecule of water that we have. Of course, today, a lot of that water comes in through reverse osmosis, but we're looking at other technologies there as well.
And sustainability involves human resources as well. I saw the very interesting announcement on gender as part of this. What are your goals there?
You're exactly right. We often talk about, people are the key to our success, and that is absolutely true. And in fact, the right people are key to our success. And we need to continue to identify and invest in that talent and grow and nurture. Today when you look at a lot of publicly traded companies, I've got a lot of experience in that area before joining ADNOC, a lot of the publicly traded companies set ambitious goals around, for example, their board of directors, that they want some diversity targets around their board of directors. Some of those are being influenced by their local governments, others are taking their own initiative. We saw the opportunity to do more. So we set targets at our critical or senior management level. So even several layers down from what would be the equivalent of a board level, because we see diversity as being good for business. The essence of diversity is diversity of thought, bringing in different ways of thinking about things, and that allows us to be better, to think differently, and ultimately extract more value from the assets that we have.
Tell us about the company. I think some people here know the company very well, but others know it less well. Where's the operations? How many people are part of ADNOC?
Right. I was doing an interview yesterday, and I introduced myself as the CTO of the world's greatest company. And I truly believe that. ADNOC is one of the world's greatest companies. We're a very responsible producer. Although we're very, centrally located here in Abu Dhabi, our products touch many different geographies all the way around the world. We have a very large workforce across our operations, across our corporate headquarters today, numbering in the tens of thousands. We're not only committed to sustainability, we're committed to innovation and science and technology. We are leaders in oil and gas 4.0 around digital and artificial intelligence, and we see all of these as building and expanding upon an already very robust foundation to propel us into the next decade.
One thing I increasingly hear, particularly in North America and Europe, is a lot of skepticism about whether an oil and gas company could be sustainable. That it's the product itself, of course, produces carbon dioxide emissions, and that's heating the planet. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think we all have a responsibility for the sustainable development, deployment, and use of all of our resources. I'm sure many of us would wish that there was an overnight solution where we could have an infinite energy supply with no CO2 generation. Wouldn't that be great? Unfortunately, we don't live in that world. And we cannot just simply take a step back and say, tomorrow there is no oil and gas, because that's unrealistic as well. So what we need to do is to use the resources we have as efficiently and as responsibly as we possibly can. And that is central to my role at ADNOC, not only from a sustainability standpoint, but from a technology standpoint, developing those technologies that allow us to be the most responsible and the most sustainable company when it comes to oil and gas development and deployment. And so we're actively researching those areas to make sure that we maintain our leadership position when it comes to our low level of methane flaring, or when it comes to our CO2 footprint in every barrel of oil or natural gas. That's what's going to make the difference. At the same time, investing in those alternative technologies and future technologies such as hydrogen, and growing the hydrogen economy, which will undoubtedly at some point be part of the energy mix in the future.
And so then what do you see as next steps for the sustainability strategy? You have implementation plans underway at this point?
We do, and in fact, through this process, we've identified over 200 projects across ADNOC that are aligned and supporting and enabling our sustainability strategy. So the next step for us is accelerating these programs to ultimately and hopefully achieve these sustainability targets well before 2030, such that maybe even before then, we can even put more aggressive targets in place.
Well, Alan, for you and all your colleagues at ADNOC, congratulations on the release of the strategy. Good luck in the implementation of it. Please join me in giving Alan Nelson a big hand. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.